So to start out for you guys, I just want to give you a little bit of an intro to reviewer, to me, Hallie, I have here on my team, and then kind of what our webinar is going to be about today. So to start off, here at Reviewer, we are an applicant management platform. So essentially what we do is any type of program where you intake any type of application we can run. So that might be a scholarship program, a grant program, any kind of contest, any awards that you're running, things like that. And then today we are going to focus primarily on scholarships. And we're going to kind of give you our view on some of the things that we've been seeing in the scholarship space currently. Here at Reviewer, we've ran through the years thousands of different scholarships. So we've worked one-on-one with a lot of our different clients. So we'll be able to pull some really great insights for you guys today. So that being said, my name is Callie. I am our marketing coordinator here at Reviewer. So I run all of our marketing efforts. So my main role in this webinar is just to kind of shed some light on some of the research that we've been doing and the things that we are seeing in the space that are currently don't seem to be working. And then I have Callie here from our team, and she can go ahead and introduce herself.
Yeah, I'm Hallie. I'm a member of the customer success team here at Reviewers. So my day-to-day kind of looks like meeting with clients from the time they're onboarded into the reviewer platform, and then from the time they stop accepting submissions, evaluation process, and then close out their events. So I really get to see the way that reviewer impacts our admin and how they run their scholarship events. So just kind of a different perspective, seeing what the clients are dealing with, what they want to improve, and what kind of relief they've kind of gotten since joining the reviewer team. Yeah, so just kind of putting in my point of view and what I've seen with our clients over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I just want to note as we're going through today, we do have the chat open. So if you have questions as we're showing things, feel free to drop them in the chat. And then at the end, we will have a bit of a Q&A to get all of your leftover questions through. So today we are going to be talking about how to eliminate some of the manual work that goes into these scholarship programs and how to overall just maximize your impact when you're running these. So, jumping right in, where are we at today? So, this is kind of what we are seeing with scholarships currently as they come into reviewer, before they have been set up in reviewer. Some of the things that we're seeing. If you guys actually want to drop in the chat currently, maybe some of the tools you're using to run your scholarship programs. Maybe it's several tools, maybe it's one, maybe you're running it just manually on paper. That's okay too. So if you guys want to drop those in the chat, and while you're doing that, I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been seeing, which is just overall manual operations. We see a lot of different tools being hacked together almost to come up with one scholarship program. So you may be using several different things to put these together. And some of the issues we've been seeing here at Reviewer with those is that some of these manual processes can be pretty slow and not very scalable. The more and more applications you intake, the harder these processes are. And then also overall data security and safety for your applicants or the students that are applying for these programs. So moving right along.
Yeah, so kind of just talking about the current reality. So, how these scholarships are being managed. So, the first thing is application collection. So, a lot of people before they come in and they join Reviewer, they're using Google Forms, emails, just super basic, not super intuitive, not super tech savvy. Doesn't really work well for getting all that scholarship information. That's how they're collecting their applications. And then from there, they're going to export that into spreadsheets and then manually organize those files. So not only for the applicant is that a bad experience while they're actually applying, but then you guys as admin, when it's time for you to go through the applications, export them, get them to be organized how you need them to be. That's a super manual and not a great process for you as well. Second thing for that is eligibility screening. So, a lot of times, like with Google Forms, for example, there's no way to eligibility screen using Google Forms. So not a great way to go about it. You're going to have probably, if you have 100 applicants, you're probably going to have at least 10 that aren't even eligible for your guys' scholarship. So the manual side of that, and then also for those applicants getting their hopes up that maybe they are eligible for the scholarship when really it's just a waste of their time as well. With that incomplete applications here at Reviewer, we do not allow incomplete submissions to be submitted. So every question that's marked as required that you need to be um, filled out in order for them to qualify. If they don't fill it out, they are not submitted and they're not considered in your scholarship. Number three is reviewer coordination. So those reviewers, evaluators, whatever it might be, that is making the kind of final decision of who's getting that scholarship. Um, 90% of the time, those are going to be volunteers, whether it's people in your organization putting in extra hours, volunteers in the community, whatever that might be, they're donating their time to help you come up with a winner for your scholarship. So making it the best process for them, not only with having it be a clean process where all their applications that they have to review are in one place, all of the documents they need to view with that, their actual evaluation scorecard that they're filling out, everything in one place. So making sure that your volunteers have a great experience so they continue to come back and donate their time to you. Number four is the results compilation. So at Reviewer, we actually compile all of your results into a spreadsheet for you. We have multiple different what's the word I'm looking for? Um, reports that we run for you. Sorry, I just had a brain fog there. Um, spreadsheets that we pull for you within the actual reviewer. So instead of you having to compile those and put those however you need them to be, we're going to do that for you. A bunch of different options there. So however you want those evaluations, the results to be compiled, we can do that for you. You're not manually going to have to be putting those into spreadsheets, Excel, whatever it might be. And then also with the scoring, we can get those calculations for you. And then the last thing that we'll kind of touch on is award distribution. So when it comes time to let your winners or your non-winners know, we can do that all through your all your emails, any payments that you might need to do for your submission process, all of the contact and the conversations that you need to have, any of the communication you want to have can be right through Reviewer, which is just super convenient for everyone involved. Before we move on, Callie. It looks like we had someone come through the chat, Lexi. They manage theirs manually, but only get roughly 70, 80 applicants each year, which might not seem like a lot of applications, but that is a good amount. And when you count the amount of time per application that you're spending when you are getting all of your applications manually, going through them, checking to see who's eligible, checking to see who's fully filled out and qualifies for your scholarship, and then also when it comes time to decide who of all your 70 to 80 applicants are going to win your scholarship. So while it might not seem like that's very many, that is a good number of applications that you guys are getting for your scholarship. And then the amount of time that you're spending on that is probably a lot more than you might think.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I want to note on that, anybody else on here who may feel like you have a bit of a smaller program, some of the other things that we're going to touch on later on, definitely will apply to you, for standards of data security and protecting your students, and things like that that we've really, been seeing impact some people. All right, so we are going to move right along. So, the first challenge that we are seeing, is mainly focused around the applicant experience. So, as you know, the reason these scholarships are ran, really is for the applicants. You are giving away these fundings for them to further their education in some way. Maybe that's at a trade school or maybe a university, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, them having the best, most efficient, and smoothest process, and the best applicants being picked, should be at the forefront of our minds when we're running these programs. Because truthfully, that is the sole reason for running these programs is the students. So some of the things on that front that we have recently been seeing, where we're maybe losing students along the way. Number one is not being very mobile friendly. So as you know, most students are either Gen Z or Gen Alpha. And now just this day and age, it being 2025, everybody has had a phone glued to them for quite some time now. So this is kind of what they know and what they're used to. So their lack of ability to be able to do these things on a mobile device may actually be hindering your programs. I also would note that it's very common that a lot of schools are school issuing things like tablets and iPads now. So making sure that that's accessible to everyone. We've also been seeing issues with, say you're using something like a Google form where they can't save and come back. We see students getting halfway through their application, and then realizing they don't have their transcript and having to go out and try to find it, and then losing all their progress. And typically we don't see them coming back after that happens. We also see lots of issues with upload restrictions. If you're using any type of program that has super strict restrictions, most students aren't going to know how to change their files into what it needs to be in. And then manual reference processes. So if you are collecting references for your students, for scholars, what we sometimes see is it's either super manual for the person that is submitting the reference, which makes them less likely, unfortunately, to fill that out. And then or we see that it has to go to the student and then to you all in one, which would then have the student be able to read the reference that's being wrote for them. And then eligibility, kind of like Hallie said, we only want applicants applying for something that they're actually eligible for. We don't want them spending their time to submit all this stuff if they don't even really qualify for the scholarship in the first place.
Yeah, and with that, I'm going to go through a couple of these things and then kind of show you what the application experience actually looks like. So traditional approach, this is kind of just a summary of what Callie just went through. So the static forms with all the questions for everyone. So even if you're running a multiple scholarship in one event kind of program, I might only be qualified for the Callie scholarship, but I'm seeing the Callie, Hallie, John, Nate scholarship as well. So making sure that I'm only seeing questions that apply to me. Again, manual eligibility checking, guidance during the application process is super important. File upload, so having the ability to upload those files and then being able to save and log out is also super important. And then within the actual form, we also, for the contextual help and tooltips, we run a chat that is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time where me and my other customer success colleagues are on. So your submitters have access to that too. So if at any point in time they're struggling through their application, there's something wrong with the site, we're there to help, which is just something that's super helpful because there are t times where things are going to go wrong and they maybe need a little bit of guidance with the actual form. So that is nice there. And then Callie, if you'll let me take that screen share away from you, I will kind of show you guys what the actual applicant experience looks like. Perfect. Okay, so this is kind of an example that of one of our clients, what they do. So when it's time to send out your link, when you're ready to start accepting applications, you can put it anywhere within your website, and then that's where your applicants can go to get the link to reviewer. They create a profile. This is super important, A, for security, and then B, for if they're applying for more than one from year to year, whatever that might be, they can have one account and everything can be held there, all of their information. Um, this first page is kind of piggybacking off of that. So what they put in for their first, last, email, phone number, any kind of questions like that, they are most oftentimes going to be repeated either from year to year or for other applications. That's going to save and autofill for them, which is super helpful. And then this is just an example, so who they might be nominating. And then just kind of another little section of listing things. So just an example of how they are filling out the form. This is a text component. This is a short example because it is a nomination example. So maybe not super specific to a scholarship, but Also a lot of times can be used similar to your reference invite, getting that invite email and coming back in. What I really wanted to get here though is the eligibility check. So on this form, the requirements are that they have to turn 30 before May 31st of 2024, and then they have not applied for the 30 under 30 award in the past. So if they do not select the eligible answers for these, they're going to be taken to an ineligible page. These, because they answered the right question, they're going to be taken on, and then this is going to be take them to their second page of their nominee application. So just kind of answering your general scholarship questions, whatever that might be. For scholarship specifically, the part that you kind of want to take away from this section, this guided walkthrough, is the eligibility and then kind of moving through the actual form. Just kind of gives you a good idea of what Insider Reviewer looks like, how intuitive it is, just kind of getting a look of what your applicants are going to see when you guys sign with us. Save and log out buttons. But yeah, that's kind of it. And then at the end, they will have the option to submit. Really quickly, I'll touch on the letter of recommendation. This is something that's pretty unique to Reviewer that I think kind of sets us apart from a lot of other platforms, is that what Callie touched on, where we can invite these recommenders into our form, into the reviewer site, and they can fill it out. And it's other than the initial putting in the information of the recommenders, the actual applicants don't have access to that. So they can't alter their recommendation. It's going to be from a real recommender. You can see if it's from the correct email address, whatever that might be. Just making sure that you are allowing all applicants to have the most fair experience. So they'll fill out this recommender information, and then this is what it'll look like for the recommender. Upon submit, they're going to get that email, and then they're invited into the form to fill out that letter of recommendation. One more quick thing to touch on before I bring it back to Callie is that we at Reviewer try to do more of an emotional response for your letter of recommendation, more of a ranking as opposed to just uploading an actual letter. Callie and I might be very equal, both competitive top runners for this scholarship, but if Callie's letter of recommendation person is a much better writer, she's going to look 10 times better than I will if my letter of recommendation writer isn't a great writer. So, adding a component in there where it's based on kind of numbers, a ranking of their applicant, if you will, which seems a little bit different, but it really does make a difference between choosing who your winners are and making it a little bit more fair game for everyone involved. And then obviously we can still do upload whatever that might be for the recommender, but that's kind of what it looks like from the applicant experience, whether you're doing a nominee nominator, and then obviously your letter of recommendation side of things. Callie, I'll give that screen back to you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted there for a second. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, yep.
Perfect. All right, so now we're going to move on to the second challenge we've been seeing, which is more based around you guys who are probably on this call right now. So this is the operational standpoint, and things that you as admins experience as you're running these programs. So some of the challenges we've been seeing, is lots of uploading and exporting. You may be sending things through emails. You may be downloading all sorts of spreadsheets and moving things in that way with all of these files. Maybe your reviewers or the people that judge your scholarships, you email the people they're supposed to be judging to, and things just kind of fly around like that. And what we've seen with that, is just that it kind of isn't very helpful for you guys because you have to send 10 different things as you're moving along. And then also for security purposes, moving that stuff around, we do have to be sensitive to the fact that some of this is your applicant's sensitive information, and their personal information as well. And then we have also seen just tracking everything manually. So when this scholarship is all like said and done and it's been awarded, and you want to go back to your team or to your organization and share your results, We're seeing a lot of manual tracking to be able to do that, which kind of gives a lot of room for error, and it takes quite a bit of time. Um, and like we here at Reviewer understand that these scholarships probably aren't your main job. This is probably just a little piece of what you do in your organizations. So we really want to put emphasis on making this process as easy as we can for you when it comes to the operational side of things.
Yeah. Kind of piggybacking off of what Callie just kind of went through is we can talk about some solutions that we have here at Reviewer. So automated workflows. So applications automatically triggering the reviewer assignments, deadline reminders, status updates. So a lot of our functions here at Reviewer are automated. So whether that be your emails, your grouping, similar things kind of to that, a lot of things are automated, which is going to take some of that stress off of you, less tasks for you to have to do real-time dashboards. So you have ability as an admin to see all submissions. You have your admin kind of quick look dashboard where you'll be taken to when you open up Reviewer, kind of giving you a breakdown of all your submissions, the statuses. Not a good look straight into each individual submission, but a great overview. And then you also have access to a managed submissions page. So where you can see every single submission that you have and kind of get a little bit more in-depth information about each of those submissions. Integrated communication, kind of touched on this earlier, but being able to communicate with your applicants through reviewers. So kind of touching back on we want to have everything, every part of your application process in one place, whether it's the actual application, your review process, and then your communication. We don't want to be sending outside emails to different applicants. Those are going to get lost. You're going to forget who you sent to. Sending things through reviewer means that every single thing that has been sent is in the reviewer event and you can track it, see when it was sent, what was sent. So great, makes it easier for you because everything's in one place. And then also for reporting purposes. A lot of times I know that scholarship events, you're dealing with a lot of money. And so a lot of little things have to be reported on. So good thing just to kind of have in there. And then the last thing, smart document management. So being able to organize all your files by your programs, your applicants, and then review with the secure access controls. With that, I'm going to steal the screen share again, Callie, and I'm going to show you guys kind of what admins see for reviewing submitted entries. So this first page here is that manage submissions page. So this is going to be a little bit more of the in-depth look that you as the admin get of your submissions. So you can view them and then you can look into each application individually, scroll through the form, look for whatever you might need to be looking for. You can also communicate directly with the applicant. So if you needed to just comment on their submission, um, kind of look into things, you can do so there. And then you can also have internal notes about the applicant and collaborate with other team members within your organization about it. From there, we can see all attachments here in the viewing submissions tab. Avoid having to, again, put these in 8 different places, lose track of whose file is who. Again, just keeping things super organized and clean for you, admin. And then supplemental forms. So supplemental forms are going to be those references for you. So the supplemental form is the form that your references are going to be filling out, have access, are able to view all of those. And then another thing that I kind of touched on is auto grouping. So say that you're running 4 or 5 different scholarships in one event grouping. We're going to set up auto grouping so that each of your submissions are going to be grouped based on the scholarship that they're applying for. Within those groups, we can see what submissions are in them, what reviewers are assigned to them, and then this is where we're actually going to be making our evaluation assignments. With that, one more thing. So this is kind of the admin command center is what we call it. So this is your admin dashboard. This is a more broad view of those applications that you're going to view. So just seeing how many are accepted, different statuses, how many have been submitted, how many days are left, just a more broad overview of the submissions that you have so far in your event.
All right, so we are going to move right along. So our third challenge we have today has to do with your reviewers, or you may call them your judges. So these are the people evaluating your scholarships. So some of the challenges we've been seeing overall is just that sometimes the judges get forgotten about. And what we've seen from these organizations is typically these are either volunteers or people doing this after hours or just as a favor. Kind of going through these scholarships. So we want to make sure that this process is as smooth as we can make it for them, especially when they're home at night by themselves trying to fill these out. We want to give them the easiest process. So some of the issues we've been seeing is just biasy. Um, Especially with some of your more specific programs where the people judging may know the students personally, or a lot of their personal information is in their application. Sometimes we can see some bias when it comes to that. We have also seen issues where, say, if me and Hallie both scored two different scholarships, and I'm a really tough scorer, and Hallie is a very easy scorer, obviously everybody is going to want to get Hallie as their scorer and not me. So that is a big issue we've seen with some like scoring inconsistency. And then overall, just overload for our judges, trying to do too much at once and not being able to do their best scoring for the applications that they do have, because they're just too overloaded with the program.
Yeah, with that, again, kind of I'll just go over some of the solutions. So, automatic redaction. So, whether that is within your actual submission form, if you are getting name, contact information, we can redact that, make it so it's not visible for your reviewers. And we can also do it in the actual reviewer site because when your reviewers are going through to evaluate each, they're going to see the submitter's submissions name, but we're actually able to take that away so that each submission is going to be blind. So they have no idea who they are reviewing. Emotional response rubrics. So instead of doing a 1 through 10, we can do it exceeds expectations or does not meet expectations. This again kind of just goes, this might be based on personality. So my version of a 7 might be way different than Callie's version of a 7. So again, just making sure that those evaluations are fair. Mandatory reviewer calibration sessions. So, kind of keeping reviewers in the loop, making it easy, making sure that they understand how to review those applications. And then collaborative review with discussion features. So that's kind of in that notes sections that I went over on the last guided walkthrough. And then score normalization, which I'll be able to explain a little bit better when I have a visual here in a minute. But just making sure that the tough scores and the easy scores are kind of evened out and averaged out. Callie, I'm going to steal that screen from you again. And then I am going to go over to the evaluation experience. Oh, I better hop over the first part. So this is what your reviewers see when they log in and they have assignments. So down here is where all of their submissions are. This kind of blurred out submission name and team name is an example of how we can redact that classified information that you don't want those reviewers to see. And then if we click view, if we click edit to begin reviewing those submissions. On the left side, we're going to see their submission form that they submitted. And then on the right, we will actually see the score sheet. So the rubric that we're going to be used to evaluate those submissions. From there, there's also a little attachments tab so your reviewers can see all attachments here in this tab, or also as they scroll through the form, there's going to be a view button on each attachment so they can view that way too. Personal preference for the reviewer, but it's nice that it's not opening up into 18 tabs. They're not having to download everything again in one place, making it easier for those volunteers of yours. Um, Notes, so other reviewers, team members that have maybe commented, made notes on that, on the submission, and then supplemental forms. So this is where they can see those letter recommendations that have been submitted for those submissions. Because again, those recommendations might be a really large part of your scholarship process. What those recommenders are saying about those submitters is super important. Um, it's going to total point at the bottom so they can see their total, what they have scored that applicant, and then they will. click submit. Um, from there, I think Callie, I'll give it back to you. And then on the next slide, I will show you guys a little bit about the normalization report.
All right, perfect. So we are going to move into our last challenge today, and that is the impact measurement gap. So essentially what that is once your program is over, we know that with how funds are going out and everything that's going on, we know that you need tracking and reporting year to year and just for your program overall. So, some of the things that we have been seeing that causes issues is just not being able to show your metrics from year to year. Or having to manually try and create these reports yourself, which can oftentimes take a lot of your time to get those made up. So at the end of the day, we want you to be able to hand a report back to your organization that shows the true value and meaning of these programs that you're running.
Yeah. And then with that, just some of the solutions we have to combat those issues that we are seeing and a lot of you guys are probably experiencing right now. So kind of the staged impact measurement. So the reports that you can pull at any time. So you can pull beginning, middle, end. You can show how much you're really making a difference with these scholarships. Low friction reporting, so kind of piggybacking off of that. It's super easy to pull reports. You're not manually having to do that. We have about 10 to 15 different reports that you are able to pull from reviewer all in one place. So super easy for you guys and a great way to report back to your team. Predictive analysis. So predicting long-term success and program effectiveness. The reports that you pull from year to year is going to show you how much of an increase of submissions, applicants, whatever that might be, whatever you're measuring, you're going to be able to see a difference by pulling those reports from year to year. And then real-time reporting. So board-ready reports with live data on program performance and ROI. So having real-time information that you can use to show to your team, which is super important. With that, I'm going to steal the screen again and then kind of talk about the results, hop back over. So this is kind of more towards the real-time progress tracking. So kind of the real-time reports of the review process. So we're kind of hopping back to that, but also just kind of displaying how we can show active reports throughout reviewers. So this is a good way on your groups and divisions. So if we auto group based on your different scholarships, how many of those submissions have been reviewed, started, not started, kind of in that bucketing system that I talked about earlier. And then talking about one report in specific is the normalization report. So this is going to be kind of going back to the example of if I'm a really easy scorer and Callie is a really tough scorer. So over here on the left, you're going to have all your submissions that are being reviewed for your event. So obviously this is a scaled down version just so it's easier for us to read. And then on the right, the second row, these are all your judges' names, okay? So as you go down, we're going to see a in the shared cell, we'll see what score Steve gave for Tony Stark and so on. So kind of matching it up that way. And then the display score, so we can identify what the average each individual judge's is. So we can see on average what Tony gave each submission for a score. And then we'll average that out at the bottom, which is super important. And then based on these average scores, we can kind of see a really large difference. So Judge Judy gave a low average score of 23.875, but Tony gave a very high average score of 34. So obviously, I want Tony to be judging my applications, and I want Judge Judy to be judging Callie's because she's a tough score, Tony's an easy score, and I want the higher score. Well, where the normalization report comes in is that we do their average score. So Judge Judy's was a 23. Her 23 is going to be a 1. So anything above that 1 score, her average score is going to be above average, and anything below that 23 is going to be below average. So based on each judge's average score, that average score is going to be a 1, and then anything above and below is going to be above or below average. And then with that, We average that out to see who truly is getting the average best score. So that kind of takes away the part of the tough score versus easy score because we're averaging everything out. And then we can rank, see who truly is the winner.
All right. So today we have kind of gone over um, a couple things. So we kind of started out with the applicant side, then we moved on to the admin side, which is you guys, then went to judges, and then kind of our impact in our scoring. From both me and Hallie, just thank you for attending our webinar today.